All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about a music legend who we lost in 2024, and one of the saddest things in the music world in recent memory. And yes, doing it in real time for a few real people here, just like you and me. So, Toby Keith's final performance becomes one of the year's top searches on Google. And it doesn't surprise me. Toby Keith has been on many people's minds this year following his death on February 5th after a 2 year battle with stomach cancer. By the way, I don't know a lot of people who didn't like Toby Keith, even if you weren't into country music. A lot of people got into country music because of Toby Keith. Um, he had a 2 year battle with stomach cancer, and it appeared he might have turned a corner with it, but as we know, that didn't happen. His passing left a void, and because of this, fans have been honoring his memory by playing his music more than ever. Just last week, uh, Toby's song I Love This Bar was one of the most played songs this year, 2 decades after it initially dropped. You know, as a 90s country guy, which I am, uh, I believe I had the first two or three Toby Keith albums, and the dude's voice was just something different. He sang with a built-in confidence, which was in just the sound of his voice. He could just open his mouth and sing, and it was just great stuff. I mean, in the music world back in the 80s, I compare that to like a Jimmy Jamison or, a Steve Perry type character. But um, in the country music world, Toby Keith just had the perfect voice for the style. Um, it was pretty well known by the end of 2023 that Toby Keith was battling cancer. It seemed he was improving, though, based on media reports. Keith made his return to the stage for his first televised performance in 2 years at the 2023 People's Choice Awards. During the event, he delivered an emotional performance of Don't Let the Old Man In. Talk about just gut wrenching, tear jerking. He had also been honored with the Country Icon Award. And looking at him in those pictures, he's just, wasting away. And also, just a few months before he died, he recorded a version of Joe Diffie's classic Ships That Don't Come In, which, if the performance itself, the live performance, wasn't emotional enough, hearing that song sung with Luke Combs and with a little bit of Joe Diffie thrown in there. And Joe passed away not too long ago. And Joe Diffie, one of my all-time favorite country people in the 90s. Again, for some reason, people will say, do you like George Strait? Do you like Garth Brooks? Yeah, I do. But Joe Diffie, to me, there was something about his voice as well, where I think I wore out the third Rock from the Sun album. I just wore it out, and then I had to go buy another one. I think it's back here in the collection somewhere on CD. Um, anyway, Toby Keith continued to do more live shows. His final performance took place on December 14th of 2023 at the Dolby Live Theater at Park MGM in Las Vegas. In just a couple of months, Toby would pass away. So, as the anniversary of his passing approaches, it's clear that the country legend's lasting impact will always be felt by countless fans. The reason for this is Toby Keith was a good guy, on top of the fact that he had a great voice and he did a lot of great humanitarian work. But that disease really took its toll on him. And it was just sad seeing him up there in the condition that he was in. But many people will just remember all the good times from the 90s and the early 2000s when I think Toby Keith was at his peak. His music is typically very up tempo, very fun. There are a few songs. I think one of the early Toby Keith songs that just stuck in my brain all the time was a tune called Who's That Man? Somebody basically impersonating him, taking over his family. Uh, and it's just a sad song if you go listen to it. But country music back in the 90s, there were just moments where you were like, whoa. That song really, I mean, the heartstrings are tugged, pulled, and then, taken apart. Um, what is it? Don't take the girl. Just some of these songs you can't even listen to. You can't. Tim McGraw, Don't Take the Girl. It's like, who writes a song like that? And then you have to listen to it. It's rough. But one of the reasons I got into country music because it was very transparent and there were very clever phrasings, and I liked guitars, and there were a ton of guitars in country music. There still are to some degree, but we all know what's happening with country music today. It's slowly morphing into like R&B and rap and whatever else they're trying. Hip hop country. I don't even know. I don't even know. I went and listened to this band called Highway 101 for a little while yesterday. I remember from the 80s and into the early 90s. There's just so much talent that people are forgetting about. There's so much music that is being shoved aside, not only because of the aging thing. And, as the decades progress, things tend to get memory hold. And it's just sad because there should be a revival of real country music. And I know you've got, I think it's Prime Country over on Sirius XM. That's really good, by the way. There aren't too many stations I could endorse. That one I can because they're playing all the good stuff. They play a little bit too much Garth Brooks for my taste, but there's no denying that Garth was important, especially in the 1990s. And he was everywhere. So I guess you have to include him. But you could play George Strait 24/7 if you wanted to, and that would be okay with me. Joe Diffie, Toby Keith. There are others from that time frame, and I have a whole ton of music from that era. And I could be a country boy if I could just listen to that kind of stuff. So, in any event, a tough year if you're a Toby Keith fan. Fans are remembering Toby because, his life ended too soon, and he was still great right up until the very end. So our thoughts and prayers, obviously, are with Toby's family and all of those fans who are still heartbroken over one of the great voices of all time in country music history.